tenants. The idea knowing that the building had to be incredibly efficient because tenants pay dollars for usable square footage and the overall shape and size of the building. And although the building looks essentially unique, it actually is a fairly standard and efficient floor plate.
You couldn't have asked for a better marketing person than Pelly's office. He just carried with him a certain presence and a history.
What was the proposed budget when you started out in this building? Did you hit that mark? Did it go over?
We exceeded it.
You exceeded it?
After meeting with Pelly's office, what we collectively thought the project was going to be early on in our own little world changed dramatically.
Truly a building like this with this different type of shape and all glass curtain wall, which is probably one of the most expensive materials to create a building from, did drive it up.
But at that point too, when you started to get involved in the project, you understand that we focused on a different target audience. Coming in from out of town, clearly was at a different price point.
At the end of the day, we were able to get more rent for the building to cover any increase in cost from the original budget that we had done.
If Jerry hadn't made the decision to go so bold and so different with a building, it wouldn't have brought potential prospects over to look at it to begin with. And we're asking people to think a little differently. We're asking them to pay for a certain type of product, and they felt part of something.
Pelly's paycheck really paid off for you too?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Hands down?
No doubt about it. Hands down.
Pelly's plan pulled in the tenants. In December 2003, law firm Descartes was the first to sign up. Today, the tower houses over 2,000 people working for 18 different companies ranging from investment firms to business consultants. Many of these companies have designed their office space to reflect the aesthetics of Pelly's creation. But what made them choose Cira?
We were looking for a building that would really stand out and set us apart from some other people in our industry. The fact that Cesar Pelly designed this building really did weigh into our decision. Remember, the building hadn't even begun construction by the time we decided to move in here, so we really took it on faith that this was going to be a phenomenal building, and having Cesar's name behind it really did lend some credibility.
Seeing this building going up in the middle of Philadelphia and knowing that he was involved and he had built some of the biggest buildings in the world.
At the topping off ceremony, he said he was looking to design a building that was forward-thinking, happy, and optimistic. And I said to him afterwards, I want my people working in that place.
Anything that's written, even about the restaurant, talks about in great detail about the building. Everybody in Philadelphia has an opinion about the building. To have the opportunity to bring fine dining into this building really just feeds off that energy.
But to get the complete story on Cira, there's one person I really need to talk to. The man himself, Cesar Pelly. I'm lucky enough to have been invited to his studio in Connecticut.
Did you feel that when Brandywine first approached you with this project that you needed to come up with something very iconic?
After I studied the problem, I felt that this particular site required that the building had iconic qualities. It could not be just a damn box sitting there. I think that would have been wrong for the site and wrong for the city. There are circumstances when you need to come up with a new form or a new vision for a skyscraper. And in those cases is where I had started conceiving this form. Actually, the very first time I worked on this was for the competition for the New York Times building. We did not win the competition, the building, but we have the ideas. One of the most elegant things, it happened by necessity. You know, the building tilts backwards. Yep. And that's because there were railway lines there that we could not touch. And in order to achieve the kind of floor plates that he wanted, that was one way to do it. The situation where it is, by itself now, away from other buildings, makes it a spectacular jewel. See, there were a few views that were very important for us. Okay. The other important key view was the view from the museum. Also, the view over the bridge that crosses the Schuylkill. That view was very important. The view from the train is important. Right. You know, there were several key views for this building that we were very concerned with, and we kept on looking at our model in those positions. The reflectivity, the angles are even richer than I was hoping for. Okay. So it's wonderful. Wow. And just how the light caresses it and changes it is a delight. You know, sometimes you have these great hopes and they're flat. Sometimes they just bloom.
Yeah.
And this was a very lucky building. I think this is both a very beautiful building and a very pragmatic, intelligent, commonsensical building. It is the kind of combination, of course, that developers like. You can answer all of the pragmatic concerns about function, leasability, cost, schedule, etc. And at the same time, you can create a piece of art, a piece of poetry. And that to me is what made this particular project so simple and so beautiful.
I would imagine that you're proud of all of your buildings, just like parents love all their children equally.
Absolutely.
But as far as this baby goes, and the rest of your family of buildings you've created, how do you feel about this?
This has been a very good kid.
It's been a good kid.
Absolutely.
But you and your name and your work, widely known. Do you think that was also kind of somewhat of like a selling point? Like if we can do this with Peli, this will be something bigger and grander than.
Probably, I'm guessing. But you have that you have to ask Brandywine. Yeah, but probably.
But there's this idea out there about like celebrity architects. Foster, Calatrava, Piano, yourself.
That idea concerns me. I think at this moment we are making too much out of the celebrity, out of the name of the architects. I think it's really not good for architecture. Truth is that many buildings that I see highly praised, when I go and visited them, they are not even that well built, and they are not that good for the people that work there. And they seem to have been horrendously difficult to build and probably way too expensive. But all of that is ignored for the shape. And architecture that is just about shapes is a very poor architecture. Architecture is a much richer profession in my mind than just making shapes. The brand that an architect develops is very important today. But in order to maintain that brand, it means that I have to impose a similar set of forms and materials and qualities on every city of the world. It doesn't matter if they are in the tropic or in the Arctic. That's not what I'm about. That's what I'm about, is doing the right building for the right place, for the right function. And it doesn't matter that it doesn't look at all like other buildings I have done somewhere else for other purposes. On the contrary, when they start to look alike, I start to worry. I would not distort my deepest beliefs in order just to do a fancy building or to gain a client. Just to do it because the press wants it, or because you'll make more money, that to be deadly, absolutely. I think that to be fatal for me. Architecture is a peculiar art. Is an art with social responsibilities that no other art has. For me, one of the most rewarding things is to go and find somebody who lives or works in one of my buildings and they love it. And that's not aesthetic, but that is more rewarding than a good article on my building. Warms my heart all day long.
But while Peli's design has worked for the tenants, it's another matter having to maintain a building with such a complicated structure. The mechanics of washing the sloping glass of Cira, that doesn't even have a flat roof, presented challenges that only the smartest technology could solve. And I'm going to check it out with window washer Eric.
Alright, so is it pretty scary out there?
Not too bad.
Not too bad?
Just when the wind blows, it gets a little hairy.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Oh, this isn't so bad. This is nothing.
No, this is great.
So when we get up there.
James Bond style, the panels of the roof open. The huge boom rises up and pivots the rig around the sides of the building. The views from up here are incredible. And from this perspective, you can get a real understanding of Cira's unique shape.
Now this roof is starting to make sense to me. Yeah, I was having a hard time figuring it out earlier. From this vantage point, you can also really tell how drastically different Peli's design is
compared to anything else really in the skyline. And what's really neat is that, you know, this Viracon semi-reflective glass that the building is glazed with, the reflectivity on it is great. What's really great about this view is if you look right here, we're right over that point. But this wall also slopes outward and goes down to a point. So he's got like 10 different things going on at one time. The other buildings that you've worked on, have they been as complex as this building?
No, not this complex. This is the first building, you know. It is pretty complex. It has 6 sides. Cleaners would say an architect's dream, a window cleaner's nightmare.
The combination of Pelly's celebrity architect status and the pioneering spirit of a new skyscraper developer has created a visionary design like no other the city has seen, and that has redefined Philadelphia's skyline. Was Pelly's paycheck worth it? Well, I think so, because his skyscraper is more than just glass and steel. The Cira Center increased investment in a part of town that was otherwise abandoned. Plus, it's an iconic piece of architecture on a skyline that had come to a grinding halt. Every skyscraper represents an opportunity, a chance to change a city. And when you have a superstar architect on board, you can bet that that opportunity won't get wasted. Next week, Charlie Luxton checks out one of the world's original skyscrapers, the towering Cologne Cathedral.
Oh, that's big.
But back then, plans to make the cathedral the tallest building in the world were rather unusual.
They tried to burn down the old cathedral.
Yes.